Well, here we are, and we're streaming into August still on Radio Entrepreneurs. My name is Jeffrey Davis, and we still have stories of leadership, entrepreneurship. And when it comes to business, it's the gift that keeps on giving. And every week we like to check in with Mark Furman from Tarlow, Breed, Hart, and Rodgers, and with the segment Entrepreneurship and the Law. Welcome back, Mark.
Hey, Jeffrey. Great to see you today.
You too as well. I keep wondering about, entrepreneurs following the law. And there's a good example right now in the press of a leader that doesn't like to follow, the rules of law. But that doesn't mean the rest of us should take his lead.
Well, I mean, we live in a highly regulated society, and almost everything that a business has to confront has legal implications, whether it's the employment laws, the environmental laws, and then, of course, there's basic contract principles. And the news always seems to raise legal issues, whether the pandemic created all these legal issues relating to, employers and whether or not they can or should require vaccination status. What about religious exemptions? We're just in an incredibly regulated society. And entrepreneurs need to follow the rules or there are implications. And on the criminal side, we keep hearing about, criminal cases and right now there's three involving the former president Trump. And what's really unique about those is that they're arising in the middle of a presidential campaign, or at least a campaign for the nomination of the Republican Party. And so when you have criminal cases, I'm not a criminal defense lawyer, as you know, Jeffrey, but there's common that courts want the case to be tried in court and not in the media. But when you have a presidential campaign, you have the right to free speech, political speech, and it really creates this bit of a conflict in how our criminal justice system generally works versus how it works in these very, unprecedented circumstances. And we're seeing that playing out in real time. But for regular business owners, for entrepreneurs, there is not this conflict. There is your political speech rights are, shall we say, limited. And you have to make sure that you follow the rules. It's just one more set of rules. But so in one sort of different but related issue of concern for me that I see all the time is entrepreneurs recognizing when there's legal risks. You don't want to find out too late that you stepped over a line. It may not be, I'm not even talking about criminal issues, but I'm talking about legal risk exposure. A lot of times I have cases where I really wish I had been involved at the beginning. Say there's a plan to change suppliers or whatever the case may be, a plan to terminate a key employee or relationship, business relationship. This is a legal minefield, and planning to avoid litigation is really important. And it's something that I really enjoy doing because I feel like it adds value. Once you get sued, the process takes over and it's incredibly expensive, distracting, time consuming, but the ability to avoid the dispute by really thinking through the implications of every move that gets made in advance is really an important thing. So my advice to lawyers, to business owners is, you need your team. You need your accountant, you need your lawyer, you need your consultants, you need your team, and use them early. Don't wait for a volcanic eruption that is really going to be very impactful in a negative way to your business.
So let me ask you a question, because you're an attorney and I'm sure you watch this stuff as if it's not just the way we do politically, but also in terms of a lawyer. Do you think Donald Trump is taking the advice of his attorneys? Is he taking the lead, or are they taking the lead? Do you think they're just reacting to him and trying to do damage control the whole time?
You get the impression that at times he takes the lead. Certainly, he came out on social media post about moving to recuse the judge, and then I was watching one of his lawyers backtracking on that statement. So I usually don't find that criticizing the judge is a good strategy, because it's hard to get a judge recused, and the judge is going to be a decider of important parts of the case. Even if there's a jury case, the judge serves as the umpire who decides the evidence that gets admitted into evidence and not.
Do you think he's trying to get the judge or the DA to say something that he would then say, you need to recuse yourself because you're biased? Is he trying to get them to trip a cord?
Maybe, I'm not sure.
I mean, if I was the family of the judge or the DA, I'd be like, oh my God, we're going to have security guards around our house for the next 25 years. I mean, what an awful position to be in.
Well, that's true. Unfortunately, there's certain norms that, in terms of security. I mean, we've had, there has been, threats near Supreme Court justices' houses, that I never heard of such a thing until fairly recently. So this is a phenomena that is, I think in part based on, the polarization in our society, and this, the accessibility to social media, where there's a bit of an echo chamber, and as opposed to having Walter Cronkite tell us what was the news when I was a kid. I mean, it's just the sources of information were so much more limited back then, and now there's so many sources, and they have a pretty narrow view, I think.
Well, Mark, I think that this is something we're going to track more. And again, I do think there are messages here for entrepreneurs, because sometimes people watch things like this and think, well, if he can do it, maybe I can do it as well. And they're going to get themselves in trouble because they're not Donald Trump. And none of us, I think, who are practicing in business are Donald Trump. He is a professional at knowing how to bend the system. If someone wants to understand what their limitations are, what they can or can't do, how do people find you, Mark?
Best way to reach me is by email, mfurman Furman at tbhr-law.com.
And you can find Mark every week and on all our social streaming sites for radio entrepreneurs as Entrepreneurship and the Law. Thank you, Mark, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.